Do you want to learn everything you need to know about influencer marketing? Here at Influence City, we believe that influencer marketing doesn't have to be so complicated. So we created an all-in-one platform to help you manage and analyze your influencer marketing campaigns, as well as this YouTube channel where we publish high-value videos to help you uncover the secrets of influencer marketing. Over time, we've been developing a guide that will teach you everything you need to know about influencer marketing: what it is, how to launch your first campaign, tips to follow, and mistakes you need to avoid to achieve success. We've also covered the best tools, real-world examples of successful campaigns, and so much more. In this free guide, we've put everything together in one place so that you can learn about the power of using influencers in your digital marketing strategy and start implementing actions. In the description, you'll find timestamps to jump to a particular section, as well as a link to try our all-in-one AI-powered influencer marketing platform free of charge. During the video, if you feel you're getting value out of it, make sure to drop us a like and subscribe to Influence City's channel for more. And without further ado, let's get started. We'll begin with the basics. What is influencer marketing? It's a strategy where an influencer, or someone who others look to for advice, inspires or recommends a brand's product or service. It's important for influencers to have a wide reach, be trusted in the community, and have good speaking skills. The higher the combination of these skills, the more influencing power they will have on others. In the last few years, this strategy has become very popular among marketing specialists as an alternative to traditional publicity tactics, which are expensive and don't have much influence on customers. According to a report by Nielsen, around 92% of the consumers trust opinions and recommendations when they're based on someone else's experience, also known as word-of-mouth marketing. This is where influencer marketing comes into play. If you use an influencer to promote your product, the message will come from someone that your target audience follows and admires. It's someone that they have some kind of relationship with. So if the recommendation comes from that person, they will be more receptive to it over a traditional ad. In other words, how can you ignore an ad if you don't even recognize it? That right there is the main advantage of influencer marketing, that messages don't come across as imposed or false. The recommendations aren't forced or unnatural, and they come from someone that the audience trusts or respects. Keep in mind, though, that influencers should always disclose ad content and brand collaborations, even if they share the same opinions on a personal level. So, now that it's clear that influencer marketing plays an important role, how can you make the most of collaborating with influencers for your marketing strategy? First of all, you should choose the right influencer for your campaign. There are basically 3 types of profiles that work for influencer campaigns, and brands must establish a different relationship with each type. Number 1, brand ambassadors. Brand ambassadors have a large follower base, and their values are aligned with the brand's values. Relationships between brand ambassadors and brands can be either medium or long-term. They involve many key PR actions. For example, invitations from the brand to events, festivals, or trips, and in return, the brand ambassador generates content for the brand throughout the duration of the commercial relationship. Number 2, influencers. Influencers, on the other hand, are not directly linked to a specific brand, nor do they tend to establish long-term agreements, but rather specific campaign collaborations. With influencer profiles, it's important to distinguish between macro influencers, whose public relevance makes them appealing to brands due to their great potential impact, and micro influencers, profiles with a smaller follower base, but with solid credibility and who stand out among specific audience segments as opinion leaders. Number 3, advocates. And finally, we have advocates, who are users who are satisfied with the brand and who don't hesitate to recommend products on their own without any economic compensation. It's important to define and efficiently manage these profiles in order to establish a fruitful relationship with the brand through some form of collaboration. Now, what's the next step? You should research which influencers are in line with your brand and determine how much you're comfortable spending. One of the most important things is that the influencer has an audience that matches your target audience. If you sell products for young women and you choose an influencer that has mainly middle-aged men as their audience, your actions won't give you any results. We highly recommend using an influencer marketing tool like Influence City, which analyzes influencer metrics across every single social media platform, spots fake influencers, identifies niches and brand affinities for each one of them, and ultimately lets you make the most informed, relevant decision for your campaign. You'll find a link to try it for free in the video description. So now that you've decided which influencer works best for you, which content should you create? Let's review the keys to success in influencer marketing. Number 1, post real and authentic content. Organic content is one of the most powerful ways to influence your audience. Avoiding commercial content is key, since strictly commercial campaigns don't tend to perform well in modern marketing. Campaigns should be original in order to cause impact. It's for this very reason that micro-influencers are able to transmit a sense of security and trust to their audience. They know how to communicate their feelings and experiences in such a way that their content feels authentic. Despite not having as many followers as other big influencers, their audience is just as important and valuable because they truly trust the influencer's content. This will lead to more positive results for both the brand and the influencers. Number 2, engagement rate. It's important that your influencer marketing campaign is represented by influencers who have a good level of engagement across all their social networks. This is measured by the engagement rate. Engagement rate is defined by the level of interaction an influencer's post receives, the combination of likes, shares, and comments from an ad. The higher the engagement rate is, the more likely users are to buy from your brand. Number 3, Instagram. Instagram is undoubtedly the best social network for influencer marketing campaigns due to its wide range of features. Instagram stories, for example, are an effective way to immediately connect with an audience. Number 4, influencer relationships. Your relationship with your influencer will determine your brand's success. Brands should aim to reach a win-win agreement with their influencers and treat them as if they were a brand themselves, with loyalty and professionalism. If your relationship with your influencer is negative, your campaign results will be negative. Hence why it's so important to trust your influencer and try to make the collaboration as natural as possible. The power of influencers is real. About 82% of people follow the recommendations of micro-influencers, and about 84% of consumers have made a purchase based on an influencer's recommendation. And what do marketers think? 71% of them say that the quality of customers and traffic from influencer marketing is better than other sources. With that being said, let's see how influencers can help your business grow. Trust around your brand. Influencers maintain an authentic and trustworthy relationship with their audience. This means that if they recommend your product or service, their followers will put a high level of trust in it, and this will help you to generate more loyal customers. Also, as they will have some relatability to your brand, it's more probable that they buy your product or service. Better reach. On one hand, if your goal is to reach a bigger audience, influencers with millions of followers are the best way to reach a large audience. On the other hand, if you're working on a highly targeted marketing campaign, finding your niche audience will be very easy as well. For example, if your brand is related to beauty products, identify influencers that work specifically on this topic. Most of their followers are interested in beauty products as well, so clearly it's a great target for your brand. Better SEO. In case the influencer has a blog or a website, it can help your SEO strategy. How? Every time your brand is mentioned by trusted influencers, it generates an opportunity to generate high-quality external links on your website. This can help boost your brand's SEO and elevate your rank on Google searches, which will lead to more visits to your website and probably more sales. Let's see which ways influencer marketing can help your SEO. Brand awareness. It's easier to get people to know about your brand if you partner with someone who's already playing in the same topic field. This will not only help your SEO, but also your social media presence. Your number of followers will undoubtedly be increased. Get links. As you may know, one of the most important ranking factors that Google takes into consideration in searches is links. By collaborations such as guest posting or product reviews, you can get new links back to your website. This practice can be very helpful if your domain isn't good enough to start ranking yet. Now that you already know how influencers can help grow your business, let's see which ways you can collaborate with them. There are multiple levels of help you can expect from influencers. These are some of them. Give free samples to influencers. Although most experienced influencers will expect to receive economic compensation aside from the free product, other influencers will be more than happy to share with their followers the free samples that you send them. To make it even more attractive, you can personalize the gift so it will generate an even better impact. Ask for product reviews. This is an easy way to get an audience to know your product and take a closer look at its features. You must keep in mind, though, that a good influencer will make an honest review, as its relationship with the audience is in play. So don't expect product reviews to always be positive in every sense. Product reviews are great for promoting your existing products, but here's an extra tip. Why not involve influencers in the development of your product? You can ask an influencer to help design a new line of products as a limited edition. It's sure to be well received by their followers. Provide products to give away. Who doesn't like giveaways? It's proven that when influencers throw giveaway campaigns, the results are incredibly good. Your number of followers can be multiplied, and it can also lead to new customers. Just make sure that you offer something valuable so followers want to participate and that the contest instructions are clear. Pay for sponsored posts. This is one of the most common ways to collaborate with an influencer. A post with a picture or a video can do wonders for your brand. One tip is to ask influencers to use the same hashtags that your brand does. Write guest posts. This practice can be very effective when you partner with influencers who operate a popular blog. Also, as said earlier, it helps to boost your SEO. So consider writing a guest post and try to give useful and relevant content instead of just driving sales. Now you know how influencers can help grow your business. We hope you find a successful way to get the most of it.
When you decide to recruit an influencer to promote your brand, you need to be sure that they are the right fit for your campaign. Otherwise, you're unlikely to see any substantial results. However, with so many types of influencers out there, it can be difficult to know what you should be looking for. Should you pick an influencer by the size of their following or by the area of interest or expertise? What about celebrities, rising stars, and key opinion leaders? Are they a must, or will you get more bang for your buck with someone with a smaller, more modest following? Let's start by exploring the different types of influencers according to audience size to help you find the right influencers for your brand. Remember, when it comes to influencer marketing, just because someone has a considerably sized audience doesn't necessarily mean they will do the best job promoting your campaign. Nano influencers, 1,000 to 10,000 followers. Of all the types of influencers, nano influencers have the smallest audience. They usually have between 1,000 and 10,000 followers on social media channels. Because of their reduced following, nano influencers are usually very vocal advocates of the brands and products they like and promote. They often have a very engaged social media following, and because they don't oversaturate their channels with obvious campaigns, their followers tend to value their authentic reviews, recommendations, and commentary. They're also able to maintain closer relationships with their followers as they take the time to respond to comments, engage with their audience, and nurture their relationships. Nano influencers, and the next type, micro influencers, are useful for any brand regardless of their company size, and the use of one type or the other will depend on the strategy we want to focus on. For example, if you are a big brand, nano and micro influencers are a very interesting option when used at scale, leveraging your budget to create campaigns with 100 or more influencers. On the other hand, if you are a smaller brand with a limited marketing budget, nano influencers can also be a good option, keeping costs low but achieving results at the same time. Micro influencers, 10,000 to 100,000 followers. Micro-influencers have a larger audience than nano-influencers, usually between 10,000 and 100,000 followers. Although they have more followers to interact with, they still usually manage to maintain a relatively high level of engagement. They are also more likely to have a targeted audience focused on a particular niche, such as travel or baking, for example. This makes it much easier to create specialized, relevant sponsorships. Because their audience is more specialized, these types of influencers are best suited to brands that are looking to generate more focused leads. This is mainly because their audience is already expecting to receive targeted marketing messages within their niche. For example, if you sell mixers, then a micro-influencer who specializes in baking could be a great option. Macro-influencers, 100,000 to 1 million followers. Macro-influencers, as you have probably guessed, have an even larger audience than micro-influencers, usually between 100,000 and 1 million followers. These types of influencers have a much broader appeal and often include social media stars, bloggers, vloggers, or podcasters. These influencers also have a much greater reach. Plus, they are likely to have a well-developed audience made up of loyal followers. However, due to the sheer size of their audience, they are unlikely to have a high engagement rate. Macro-influencers are best suited for brands that are looking to raise awareness of their products or services. as you get instant access to a much larger audience. Macro influencers are almost exclusively used for big brands since smaller businesses can't afford the fees this type of influencer asks for. Mega influencers, 1 million or more followers. At the top of the pyramid, we find mega influencers. These are influencers with over 1 million followers, and this category is usually made up of celebrities, rising stars, and KOLs, or key opinion leaders. For example, this category might include those specialized in TikTok influencer marketing. Because they have such a strong social status, their recommendations and opinions tend to be listened to. However, mega influencers are not likely to be very engaged with their followers or specialized in a particular niche or industry. These type of influencers are best suited to brands with a considerable marketing budget, as getting a mega influencer to promote your brand is more than likely going to be very expensive. Influencers by niche and content type. Another way to filter through the many types of influencers to pick the best person to promote your brand is by choosing an influencer who is focused on a specific niche or content type. Here are a few examples of what we mean. Sports and fitness influencers can be a great choice if you're looking to promote sports brands or food and drink brands related to the health and wellness industry. Travel influencers usually offer travel tips, tricks, and hacks, as well as reviews on travel-related brands. This could be a great choice if you're looking to promote a holiday destination or food establishment. Beauty influencers usually share beauty tips and product reviews, so these types of influencers could be a great choice if you're looking to promote makeup or cosmetic products.
In a time where traditional advertising generates more and more distrust, mainly among younger generations, influencer management is important for brands looking to humanize their messages. Communicating and establishing relationships with customers has become a difficult task, so why not give this task to influencers? They generate conversations with their audience, and the recommendations that they offer feel more authentic than regular advertising to their followers. Do you want to incorporate an influencer campaign in your marketing strategy? What steps should you follow to create your influencer campaign? First of all, establish your objectives. You must have a clear start and end point, so you don't have to change your strategy mid-campaign. The smaller the number of objectives and the more concrete they are, the more effective your strategy will be. Ideally, an influencer marketing campaign should focus on 1 or 2 objectives. Let's review the most common objectives. Visibility. Brands that choose visibility try to make a name for themselves on social networks and make an impact on users. These campaigns tend to involve a great number of influencers who are perfectly aligned with the brand or the service. The important metrics for campaigns like this are reach and engagement. Branding. These campaigns aim to build a brand's image or associate a certain concept or characteristic with a brand. In doing so, brands become easily recognizable and are associated with a series of attributes and values. When campaigns have branding objectives, they tend to collaborate with influencers with very niche profiles. In such cases, the size of the community is not as important as the influencer's skills. Positioning. Brands that wish to position themselves in the market tend to pursue notoriety and seek to be top of mind in their particular sector. They want to be the first company that pops into the consumer's mind when they think of a certain need. After all, who wants to be just another brand? But how can brands achieve this? By providing consumers with information and explaining the great characteristics of their brand. Traffic. Brands often seek to generate traffic to their websites in order to improve their visibility and positioning. This is achieved with campaigns launched on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram through competitions and giveaways. These strategies also generate traffic for brands' social network profiles and increase their follower base. Using Instagram stories, for example, allows influencers to add direct links to brand profiles or websites. These mentions may not necessarily lead to a purchase, but the seed will have been planted in the consumer's mind. This traffic is measured by the number of clicks on the URL. Conversion. Conversion is a direct result from increased traffic and is one of the most common campaign objectives. A conversion might be a new sign-up, an app install, some action on your sales funnel or the user action you define, even a new customer. Sales. An example of this is giving influencers a unique tracking link with a discount code to share with their followers. This way, the influencer gets paid to share that code, and you increase sales with their followers. Their followers can even share the same code with their own audience. Brand loyalty. Sometimes, too much time is dedicated to engaging new customers and brands end up neglecting the current ones. So, what can you do? One option is using brand ambassadors. If you continue to work with a particular influencer, you will retain their followers through time. Another option is creating competitions and encouraging the community to share their experience with the brand and rewarding them for doing so. In conclusion, never draw up an influencer marketing strategy without previously determining the objectives, so that all of your actions are aligned and you have the best chance of yielding favorable results. If your goals are clear, all that's left to figure out is how to achieve them. The next step is to define your target audience. A target audience consists of consumers that your product or service is designed for. It's the group of people you are trying to reach with your marketing efforts. You should try to define those profiles very precisely. It's not just the gender and age. We're talking about specific information. Building your target audience consists of knowing their goals, lifestyles, jobs, daily routines, preferences when shopping, habits, desires and interests, and of course, their age, gender, location, income, and education. Another step you should define is your budget. How much are you willing to spend on this campaign? Do you want to invest all at once with one big campaign, or do you want it to last long term? Obviously, your budget will be determined by the influencers you choose. Do you want to hire a big name in social media with a great number of followers, which will cost you a large amount of your investment, or do you prefer to go for a smaller one that may have a smaller but more engaged and loyal audience? And also, do you want to invest in ads with your campaign? Do you want the press to know about what you're doing? You should ask yourself all of these questions to correctly define your budget before diving any deeper. What you should do next is look for the influencers that fit your brand and your goals. Get in contact with them and discuss the fee and the content they will post. You should talk about the amount of content they will have to create, whether it's a post, a story, a tweet, or something even bigger, like a photo shoot or an ad campaign. Also, define the amount of content you need them to post and how frequently they need to do so. And of course, create a legal contract with everything you agree upon. This way, if anything gets done differently or any problem occurs, you will have the security of proving what you both agreed to do. Remember to let them be creative and add their personal touch to the promotion, because in the end, they're the ones that know their audience best and know what works for them and what doesn't. They should also define the limits of what they feel comfortable with. So don't try to make them do everything you want just because you're paying them. They have a vision and a style that they work with, so don't try to change that. Instead, try to adjust to their style and trust their approach. The next step is to finally launch your campaign. Of course, there are a lot of metrics that you will have to look into to know how your strategy is going. Choosing the right influencer has a huge impact on a campaign's results, and many brands make the mistake of only looking at the number of followers an influencer has, instead of considering other important data. This leads to a much higher possibility that the campaign isn't going to achieve the desired results. As you may know, a successful campaign is a combination of making the right decisions, which includes choosing the right influencers to be advocates of your brand. So, how can you choose the right influencer? First of all, by looking at the data. We all know that data doesn't lie. So, what data is truly important? Let's take a look. The number of followers. Even though it isn't the most important variable in influencer marketing, it is, of course, data that needs to be taken into consideration. When making an investment, it's important to know the audience you could potentially reach, and as you can probably imagine, the bigger, the better. However, this data alone won't provide you with much insight, or at least it won't in most cases. It may help you discard certain candidates, but influencers with a higher number of followers are not always the best choice. Sometimes a campaign with micro-influencers can yield much better results. Now is when the audience engagement rate becomes important. The audience engagement rate is the average number of interactions the social media post receives per follower. Knowing this, what good is an influencer with a big following but a low engagement rate? That's why you should also take into consideration micro-influencers who can convince their audience to get involved, share their opinions and content, and talk about the product. Another important element you should study is the type of content they share. Evaluate the kind of content this influencer is sharing and then determine whether or not it fits in with your brand or product. Content quality and core values are two very important aspects. And lastly, before diving into the influencer search, you should have a well-defined target audience in order to know what your audience's preferred social network is and what demographic and age groups they belong to, as these two concepts will be key in choosing the right influencer. Now that you know which aspects you should look for in your next influencer, you might be wondering how and where you can find them. Let's dive into some influencer acquiring strategies. Through hashtags, as they reveal current trends and viral content. It's very easy to do. You just need to search trending hashtags that are related to your brand and see which influencers are using them. Then check out their number of followers, their engagement rate, and if the content is aligned to yours. See? Easy. By brand mentions. There are some listening tools that alert you when someone is talking about your brand. This way, you can find influencers that are already talking about your brand and see if they can fit your purposes. Also, the Google software Google Search Alerts can be very useful as it allows you to set alerts for specific keywords so that you can easily find people talking about your brand or industry. By using an influencer marketing platform, nowadays there are a bunch of software specialized in influencer marketing. Not only do they allow you to find influencers, but they allow you to have total control over your campaigns, analyze them, and even predict results before launching the campaigns. Let's see how you can find the right influencer by using an influencer marketing software like Influence City. The first thing you'll have to do is log into the platform and click on the option Search Influencers. A list of influencers will appear. You can even add more parameters by clicking on the Filters button. For example, let's say we want an influencer with 10K to 30K followers that uses the hashtag TravelAddict. As you can see, we obtain very segmented results and have access to their number of followers, their average interactions, and their engagement rate. You can visit their profile too, and by clicking the Add To button, you can add the most interesting ones to your influencers list. Then, all you have to do is contact them and see if you can arrange an agreement with them. Influencers are helping a lot of businesses to build brand loyalty and achieve more sales. It's easy to catch the audience's attention when the product or service is being shown by someone they follow or admire. In fact, it can be even more effective than brands doing it themselves. So, if you want to build brand awareness and reputation and reach wider audiences by launching influencer marketing campaigns, check out the following tips before you do so. These tips will help you achieve your goals and ensure a satisfactory campaign for both parties. Let's dive right into it. Let the influencer make content freely. One thing brands should keep in mind is that influencer marketing works because influencers have an authentic connection with their followers. This authenticity is what makes the audience listen to the recommendations delivered by them. This is why you should allow creative freedom when they're creating sponsored posts. This way, posts will be ensured to fit with the tone and direction of the creator's profile. Otherwise, inauthentic content will affect the creator's bond with the audience and could potentially hurt your brand's image. To avoid any of that, once you've determined that your chosen advocate matches your brand standards and speaks to your brand's mission, let the influencers work their magic. Each of them has their way to approach the audience, so try not to impose rules and be comfortable in handing over some control. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't maintain the oversight of influencer campaigns. Simply avoid micromanaging the influencers. Track your metrics. The only way to know if your campaign is working is to track its metrics. This will allow you to know what's working and what isn't, and make changes in your next campaign to improve results. On the one hand, determine which content worked better with your audience with the help of your influencers. Take note of the factors that made your campaign successful. On the other hand, we recommend you work with measurement tools specifically for influencer marketing and social media to create a clear picture of your ROI, or return on investment. There are dedicated influencer marketing software solutions that can help you simplify the process of tracking your metrics, among other services. Check out Influence City, a very complete influencer marketing platform. Try the free link in the description. Build long-term influencer relationships. Instead of only thinking of one-off sponsored posts, consider focusing on building longer-term relationships with influencers. This relationship will be beneficial to both parties. As a brand, it ensures you that the influencer will be more invested in you, producing higher quality content. For influencers, it shows that the brand trusts them completely and opens up new collaboration opportunities. Find ways you could work with an influencer in the long term. How could they help explore new avenues, such as brand ambassadorships or product collaborations? This way, you're more likely to tap into their influencing power. Your brand should be represented by people who truly believe in your product or service. So consider building a great partnership, and the influencer will become a lifelong fan and ambassador, continuously sharing how much they love your product or service. Define your influencer marketing budget. And how do you do that? Check out the factors that contribute to making the budget for influencer marketing. Start with the influencer's reach and the channel the content will be posted on. Also, determine how many posts you want and the kind of post. Estimate how long it will take to create the content and any agency payment that may be included. Keep in mind that the most expensive form of content on Instagram is a video, followed by a reel, and then a photo feed post. Instagram stories, on the other hand, are the cheapest type of content, and they tend to be very effective, as the audience can tap to links and calls to action on the same story, which result in a very organic action. So, even though they only last 24 hours, consider stories for your next influencer campaign if you want to redirect your audience to a call to action. Finally, your budget may also be increased if you want the influencers to make product reviews, organize giveaways, and attend events. Check out past collaborations and the content. When you're choosing your influencer, it's very recommended to look at previous campaigns they've done instead of simply focusing on their number of followers or the engagement rate. Check out how they promoted products or services for other companies and make sure that the content involved aligns with your own. This way, you'll ensure the campaign will be relevant and effective, in addition to the popularity of the influencer. And finally, check out their content to find an influencer with certain expertise in your industry. That is, look for influencers who are not just social media pros, but pros in a real area of expertise. An expert will bring credibility to the campaign, whereas a generic Instagram star that advertises about anything may not be that reliable for the audience. Influencer marketing is now included in most marketing strategies. However, many brands make common mistakes that prevent their influencer marketing campaigns from reaching their true potential. Executing a powerful campaign is a complex process that requires a well-crafted strategy. Without it, everything crumbles. So, what are the common mistakes you should stop making when preparing and managing an influencer marketing campaign? Let's go ahead and review them. Influencer marketing mistakes to avoid. Number 1. Not having a defined goal. Never carry out an influencer marketing campaign without having a defined objective. This is the biggest mistake of influencer marketing, and it could lead some brands to forget the most important thing, the objective that they want to pursue and the result they hope to obtain. Ideally, an influencer marketing campaign should focus on 1 or 2 objectives. The most common ones are visibility, branding, positioning, traffic, conversion, and sales. For example, if you want to increase the visibility of your brand, an influencer can encourage followers to share your branded content using relevant hashtags. If you're interested in increasing your conversions, influencers can feature your brand's products or services in their post. We recommend they do a review sharing their experience without sounding too pushy. Also, a lot of brands usually give influencers a discount code to share with their followers. This strategy has proved to give really good results, even if it's only a 5 or 10% discount or free shipping. Number 2, not analyzing the chosen influencers. This is also quite common and leads to a waste of economic resources and time. Choosing the right influencer is crucial in any campaign. The correct influencer should have an audience that coincides with the target audience of the brand. You can easily check this by using an influencer marketing platform like InfluenceCity, because knowing data such as the average age of your audience, the predominant gender, and the cities in which they're located is very useful when it comes to choosing a specific influencer for a collaboration. Plus, InfluenceCity allows you to spot fake influencers and predict results by their KPIs, so you never go in blind. Number 3, value the size of the community more than the type of follower. In influencer marketing, sometimes less is more. That's why it's preferable to work with a micro-influencer with a very niche profile, focused on a specific topic, before collaborating with very large profiles that are just too general. Everything will depend on the type of brand and the objective of the campaign. On the other hand, you should always assess their previous posts to understand if they are truly aligned with your brand's identity. It's about finding an influencer who is as similar as possible to your target audience. Number 4, not correctly transmitting the collaboration's requirements. This is an error that usually occurs when managing campaigns, and it can lead to influencers not meeting brand expectations and a waste of time on back and forth communications. To avoid this, you should complete a brief in which your brand's objectives, the do's and don'ts, timing, Hashtags, mentions, and required URLs, etc. are all documented. Influencers also must stick to the briefing so that the collaboration is set up for success. Number 5, not interpreting the metrics well. Both at the beginning of a campaign and at the end of it, the brand must have its KPIs defined so that it's easy to understand how the campaign is performing. Because if we only look, for example, at a low reach, a very high unengagement rate will go unnoticed. This is why it's so important to measure the results on different levels, from specific to global. Each level has its own performance metrics that should first be analyzed individually. Analyzing these individual metrics and aggregating data at each level gives you a global view of your entire influencer marketing strategy, from the lowest level, the post, to influencer level, social network, and the highest level, the campaign or even a group of campaigns. We hope you're enjoying this free video. If you have any questions, feel free to write a comment and we'll get back to you with some helpful tips. If you're ready to start your own strategy, check out Influence City for free using the link in the description down below.
Do you need some inspiration for your next influencer marketing campaign? Influencer marketing has been proved to be a super effective strategy in digital marketing. And that's why most relevant brands around the world are counting on influencers to make successful campaigns. American Express. One reason many brands look to influencer marketing is the opportunity to effectively communicate their message directly to their target audience through a more trustworthy medium. And this is precisely what American Express sought to accomplish with its My Travel Style campaign. When looking to target young business professionals, entrepreneurs, and avid travelers, who better to speak to them than one of their own? Using video content featuring famous athletes, bloggers, and celebrities, American Express created relatable content that was more engaging and effective. Just how successful was this influencer marketing strategy? It boosted acquisition rates by a whopping 400% on Facebook alone by partnering with influencers who represent their target audience, big spenders, frequent travelers, and entrepreneurs who are growing their businesses. Lyft. Lyft, the popular rideshare service in the United States, was the most mentioned brand of 2018, and it recorded 5.9 million engagements per year. How does it achieve such impressive goals? It works with a variety of influencers, from big-name celebrities to micro-influencers, to extend the reach of messaging to different audiences. Peyton Mabry posts influencer content for Lyft to a smaller, yet still significant set of followers. Micro-influencers tend to have more engaged audiences than those with a larger number of followers. FabFitFun. FabFitFun, a lifestyle subscription brand, leveraged celebrity cook Ayesha Curry as part of their influencer marketing on Facebook. Since the brand first tapped into the channel back in 2014, FabFitFun has worked with more than 10,000 influencers, including their customers, which turned out to be one of their most successful campaigns. Due to their influencer marketing success, FabFitFun is growing at a factor of 3 every year, an incredibly impressive number for any brand. BMW. BMW enlisted several top Instagram influencers to help showcase its #Road to Coachella campaign at Coachella 2019. The influencers specified BMW automobiles as their means of transportation to the event. It's a luxury example of influencer marketing that came out so successful since the influencers were capturing their journey with BMW and sharing it in their own best way with their audience. One example of this is the influencer Laura Marano, who has more than 9.9 million followers on Instagram and whose video has over 1.6 million views and lots of comments about how nice the car was. HelloFresh. The recipe box delivery service, HelloFresh, regularly works with food and lifestyle influencers on sponsored content. For example, the #HelloFreshPics has over 150,000 posts on Instagram. Influencers use this hashtag to trigger user-generated content, or UGC, to encourage their audience to share their own images via social media. Its audience is 80% women, primarily between the ages of 30 and 50. With that in mind, HelloFresh's influencer marketing campaigns are designed to target busy moms and young professionals who care about health and nutrition. That's why they collaborate with lifestyle, cooking, and motherhood influencers. One of their campaigns, called Refresh with HelloFresh, launched in 2019, counted on 15 micro-influencers in the UK and Davina McCall as the celebrity face of the campaign. They had to take part in a 21-day campaign, trying out a broad selection of HelloFresh recipes. The influencers each posted content across their social media platforms throughout the 3-week campaign, with a range of appealing photos and cooking videos. The objective of this one-off campaign was to increase content creation and brand awareness in order to achieve growth in areas outside of their leading US market. That's why they specifically targeted the UK market. In the end, this campaign created 274% more impressions and 325% extra content. Dunkin'. As Dunkin' looks to rebrand itself after dropping the donuts from its name, it's partnering with influencers to help make this happen. Dunkin' partnered with influencer Charli D'Amelio, who has over 130 million followers on TikTok, to produce The Charli. This cold caramel brew got through to TikTok fans and resulted in a growth of Dunkin's target audience and sales through D'Amelio's social media platforms. It sold more than hundreds of thousands of Charli's drinks within the first 5 days of the campaign. By the second day, Dunkin's cold brew sales increased by 45%. There was also a 57% increase in Dunkin' app downloads the day the drink first launched. In the end, the success of this campaign propelled Dunkin' to launch the Charli and Dunkin' merch collection in March 2021. The Pepsi emoji product line at Walgreens stores. Pepsi aimed to increase its sales at Walgreens, so they created limited edition packaging and the Say It With Pepsi hashtag. They chose to target millennials, so decided social media engagement was the best promotion, even for in-store purchases. Pepsi used influential creators to develop original, organic-style content about the 200 Pepsi emojis, who then distributed the content to their millennial-age followers. Pepsi then analyzed the performance of all of the content that these primary influencers had created and shared. They selected the best performing content and arranged for 40 secondary influencers to share this high performing content with their audiences. Again, they were targeted at millennials. Haagen-Dazs BOGO promotions at Duane Reade and Walgreens stores. This campaign aimed to remind New Yorkers that ice cream is an essential part of summer. It promoted the Haagen-Dazs BOGO, buy one get one, promotions and sampling events at Duane Reade and Walgreens New York stores. Haagen-Dazs partnered with New York City local influencers who targeted the millennial lifestyle. The influencers created content around the theme Haagen-Dazs Open Container or hashtag HD Open Container, which was a play on words connected with current events in New York at the time. It positioned Haagen-Dazs as the indulgent yet mature treat to enjoy with friends. The campaign included covering rooftop parties and live social updates from sampling parties. The content was given a highly New York-centric feel. They then widened their influencer campaign to cover Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter. These successful brands have shown us that taking the time to choose the right influencers, learning how to break through the noise, leveraging various types of content, and using a variety of influencers can be the determining factor in making a big impact online. Collaborating with an influencer can be one of the most effective ways to market your brand or product, especially if you are targeting a younger audience. An influencer can help you reach a larger following and build trust and credibility in your business. However, getting an influencer to promote your campaign is only half the battle. You also need to make sure you measure their results to ensure the proper return on investment or ROI. To do this, you need the right influencer tracking tools. Is your influencer performing as expected? How is their audience responding to your campaign? Is it worth the investment? The first thing you need to do before you begin any influencer tracking activities is to establish your campaign goals. This will help you identify which influencer marketing metrics you need to track to determine if an influencer is performing well and your investment is paying off. Set up your campaigns for trackability. Once you've established your campaign goals and you know what metrics you want to track, it's time to set up your campaign for trackability. UTMs can be a great tool for this. An urchin tracking module is a simple code that you can attach to a custom URL to track a source, medium, and campaign name. UTM codes enable Google Analytics to tell you where searchers come from, as well as what campaign directed them to you. Here are a few examples of UTM tags that you can use as part of your influencer tracking strategy. Source. It tracks the channel where traffic has originated. Medium. It categorizes website traffic channels like social, email, organic, or paid. Campaign. Tracks which marketing efforts or campaigns attracted visitors to your site. Content. It's useful for comparing different types of content, especially if you're A/B testing. You can create your trackable URLs with Google's Campaign URL Builder. Compare your influencer marketing results. As we just mentioned, UTM influencer tracking is a great tool for comparing your influencer marketing efforts to your organic, social, and paid ads campaigns. That way, you get a clearer idea of how your influencer marketing campaign fits in with your overall marketing strategy. In other words, it will tell you if your influencer is performing well enough to justify the investment. It's important to keep in mind that building an effective influencer collaboration takes time. Unlike the paid ads, where results are visible, with an influencer you're paying for their ability to build connections with your target audience, and this won't happen overnight. Keep this in mind when you compare your results. Create unique coupon codes. If your goal is increasing sales, then using coupon codes can be an effective tool for influencer tracking, especially if you have hired multiple influencers and want to see how each is performing individually. Coupon codes allow you to track sales and conversions before, during, and after a campaign. They allow you to measure the direct impact of an influencer on your business's bottom line. The easiest way to do this is to create a unique coupon discount code for every influencer to use. Get them to include this code in their promotions and encourage their followers to use them whenever they purchase from your site. That way, you can track how effective each influencer's campaign is. Streamline the process with automated tools. These tracking strategies can be complemented with an automated influencer marketing tool which streamlines the process of gathering influencer performance data. Dedicated platforms like this give you a lot more insight into your campaigns, the influencers you work with, and also the audiences they reach. Choosing influencer marketing KPIs that align with your goals is the most effective way to measure the impact of your campaigns and calculate your return on investment. But with so many metrics available, how do you know which ones are best? We're going to examine the best key performance indicators for measuring reach, engagement, conversions, and campaign ROI so that you know what to include in your influencer marketing strategy. That way, you'll have access to the best campaign performance insights, and you'll know exactly what you need to do to improve your future campaigns and get the most from your influencer partnerships. Let's jump right in. As you may know, KPIs, or key performance indicators, are measures of a campaign's performance. Nowadays, it's possible to quantify and measure hundreds of different types of data, but it's important to make note of which data is valuable for each specific case. So let's see the most important ones. Campaign reach. When it comes to influencer marketing KPIs, the first thing you should be analyzing is the reach of your campaign posts. This will give you an idea of how much of an impact your chosen influencer is having on your brand awareness. There are several ways to analyze reach. Above all, what you want to look at is the size of your influencer's audience, any growth in your brand's social media followers, and how many content views and impressions your posts are getting. Make sure you are using the right influencer marketing tools to get the data you need. You should track the following influencer analytics to measure your brand awareness. How many followers does your influencer have? Your brand's social media followers. Has your audience grown since you started collaborating with the influencer? The number of impressions. How many times has your content been displayed? And the total reach. How many people in total have seen your campaign? Social engagement. Influencer marketing KPIs can also help you identify how engaged your influencer's audience is with your content. This is because the more engaged your target audience is with your brand, the more successful your influencer has been in generating positive brand sentiment and creating meaningful interactions with their audience. And the more people that want to connect and engage with your brand, the more potential customers you will acquire. Engagement is also a good indicator of how well suited your brand is to your influencer's audience, which can help you identify the best influencers for long-term partnerships. The best ways to measure your campaign engagement are by looking at likes, comments, shares, brand mentions, and the use of campaign hashtags. Conversions. Conversions are where things get interesting. Of all the quantitative influencer marketing KPIs, conversions are perhaps the most important because they directly correlate with your ROI. In other words, they tell you how many people are interested enough in your brand to put their thoughts into action. Conversions can mean several things depending on the goals of your campaign. They might be direct sales, subscriptions, downloads, or even newsletter signups. What matters is that you define what the conversion is for you, and then track the right metrics regularly to see what impact your campaigns are having on your bottom line. Here are a few handy techniques that you can use to track and measure your conversions. Promo codes. If you are collaborating with multiple influencers, assign unique promo codes to each one so that you can track individual conversions. Affiliate links. Use these to track the sales generated by each influencer. UTM links. Used to create unique, trackable URLs. Campaign ROI. Finally, when it comes to influencer marketing KPIs, you need to make sure that you are investing in the best influencer to ensure the highest possible return on your investment. One of the best ways to calculate ROI is by looking at earned media value. EMV indicates the success of your influencer campaigns by showing how much you would have invested in paid campaigns to get the same result. You can calculate your EMV easily. You just need to know the cost per engagement or interaction, the cost per mile impressions, and the cost per reach of your current paid campaigns. So, for example, if in your paid campaigns an interaction costs you $1 on average, if a post gets 1,000 interactions, the total cost will be $1,000. Now, to calculate your EMV, you will need to do the same math with the influencer posts. So, if an influencer post gets 2,000 interactions, your EMV will be $2,000, a much better ROI than with your paid campaigns. The higher your EMV, the better job an influencer is doing with promoting your brand.
Influencer marketing has been embraced by more and more companies that are looking for new and fresh ways to promote their products and services to audiences on social media. But with newfound growth comes a lot of questions, mainly about its return on investment and how effective it is as a marketing technique. To answer these questions, we need to forecast and then track the results of each campaign to check if we're achieving our goals. The first step to measure influencer marketing is to properly set goals for your campaign. What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals as a team and as a company? The clearer your goals are, the higher the chances of getting there. Your goals will vary depending on your company and needs, but they are usually related to 4 different bigger aspects: brand awareness, brand engagement, sales, and creating influencer-generated content. If you want to focus on immediate sales, the return on investment will be easier to measure since you'll have specific data of money earned during the campaign, and using special codes or coupons, you can correlate those sales to that specific marketing action. That's one of the reasons why you often hear on podcasts or see on an Instagram post a very personalized and easy to remember coupon or referral code. That way, the company can track how many new sales or signups they received thanks to that influencer. If you want to focus on awareness, it will be harder to track down the exact impact of the campaign in improving your brand's visibility, but it's not impossible. You can use metrics such as social sharing or social listening, keeping track of the overall reach of the influencer marketing campaign, the number of new followers of your social media profiles compared to the average of a regular week, and more. According to the State of Influencer Marketing 2021 by Influencer Marketing Hub, brands are now focusing more on using their influencer marketing to generate tangible results. 38.5% of the brands polled believed that you should gauge a campaign by the conversions and sales that it achieves. Meanwhile, the 32.5% put more focus on engagement and clicks, while the 29% were more interested in views, impressions, and overall reach. Once you've set your goals, you need to choose specific KPIs, or key performance indicators, that you'll use to measure the success of your campaign and track whether you're meeting your objectives. Those KPIs will vary accordingly and can be Instagram post impressions, landing page visits, engagement rates, the number of new customers, new email signups, return on ad spend with creator-generated content, overall earnings, and more. Choose your KPIs and set numeric, specific, and achievable goals for each one. The next step, as we've covered in other videos on this channel, is to design a strategy that will empower you to reach your goals. One of the most important steps is to evaluate the expenses and costs of your campaign. You have to take into account everything from the time you and your team have spent setting up your campaign and coordinating it, to the influencer's fees, any product samples you've given them for free, or the tools you've used to launch your campaign. Having a tool is an additional cost, but one that will hugely help you optimize your team's time managing the campaigns, and also make sure that you achieve the goals you've set. Plus, once you're done with the campaign, you'll have everything you need to measure the results and identify the highlights that you can then use to improve the ROI of future marketing actions. The final step would be to combine the returns we've had with the costs of achieving those and calculate the return on investment. We measure ROI by dividing the return by the cost and then multiplying by 100. Keep in mind that the return will probably focus on sales or new leads, depending on your goals, but for some campaigns, like for a smaller brand launching into a new market, you'll want to focus on other metrics related to awareness and visibility. To properly understand the resulting ROI, you have to take into account some variables, like the time of the year, the influencer's affinity for your brand or product, and the decision time of your product. A product with a higher price will have a longer decision process that can delay the results of the campaign by quite a while.
TikTok influencer marketing can be a great way to raise brand awareness. Aside from the fact that TikTok's audience is growing every day, the platform's unique algorithm makes it much easier to target your audience and go viral on a budget, provided the content you post appeals to your niche market. If you decide to collaborate with a TikTok influencer, then your reach can increase dramatically, helping you get your message to the right people. Let's take a look at how TikTok marketing works and how choosing the right TikTok influencer can help you promote your brand. How does TikTok influencer marketing work? TikTok influencer marketing is all about partnering with active influencers in order to create short-form TikTok videos to promote your brand. This provides you with a more organic form of advertising compared to the usual manufactured sales pitch used on other platforms, helping you to build credibility, social proof, and trust with your audience. Many brands choose to operate their own TikTok account to post branded content or paid ads. This can be a good option. However, branded content can sometimes feel less natural and generate less engagement than influencer-generated content. It's therefore worth collaborating with an influential TikTok user, as you not only get instant access to a much larger audience, but you can also take advantage of the trust, engagement, and authenticity that they have generated in the eyes of their followers. After all, that is what most consumers are looking for these days. Genuine interactions, not hard sales pitches. Which are the benefits of using TikTok influencers? 1. Reach a large audience on a small budget. The most obvious benefit of TikTok influencer marketing is that the platform has over 1 billion active users. The platform also relies on a unique algorithm that makes it much easier for small creators to go viral compared to the other platforms. This means you can reach a larger, more relevant audience without breaking the bank. And you don't need any specific experience in how to market your business on social media to see good results. With most social media platforms, you have to take time building an audience so that you can get your content in front of as many people as possible. But things work a bit differently on TikTok. Because of the way the platform and its algorithms work, you can display your content to a large audience from day one. TikTok's algorithm prioritizes content itself, not a person's following. As a result, your statistics and the size of your audience don't have an impact on your reach. Any brand can potentially go viral with the right content and hashtags. You just have to research TikTok trends and popular hashtags, then work with an influencer to create a video that fits in with what people want. 2. Build connections and trust quickly. This one might be the most important benefit of TikTok influencer marketing. It's much easier to build connections and trust than it is on other social media platforms. And the more connections you build, the greater your brand awareness. You can, of course, do this through your own TikTok profile. However, getting an influencer to introduce your brand to their audience is usually far more effective. That's because you get the added bonus of credibility and social proof, because followers are far more likely to trust a product that an influencer they are following endorses. This means that they are much more likely to trust you and your brand too. To see how Dunkin' harnessed a well-known influencer's reach and loyal following to draw attention to their rebranding, check out the video on influencer marketing success cases here. 3. You don't need a big investment. TikTok influencer marketing is not about high production value. It's all about being as authentic and personable as possible. As such, you don't need to blow your marketing budget on a professional influencer to see good results from your campaign. A lesser-known nano or micro influencer can reach just as many followers and build connections and trust with your target audience, helping you increase that all-important brand awareness. So, how does the algorithm work exactly? Put simply, TikTok shows users videos it thinks they want to see based on their past engagements, including videos liked and completed, audio clips listened to, accounts interacted with, hashtags followed, and comments posted. So with the right TikTok influencer marketing strategy, you can easily reach a large audience on a limited budget and potentially get your brand out to millions of users. Even if your content doesn't go viral, TikTok's algorithm is still great for getting your content out to pre-segmented audiences with specific interests. The more videos you sponsor, the more audience you reach, and the more relevance and sales you will enjoy. It's true that we can't really predict a TikTok video's performance, so we won't know if our investment will be rewarded or not. But if you apply the advice we have given you in this video, you might get lucky with TikTok's algorithm and go viral.
If you finally decided to implement an influencer marketing strategy for your brand, you might think of Instagram as the ideal platform to connect with influencers and their communities. So, how does influencer marketing work on Instagram, and what do you need to know before launching your first campaign? Let's get into it. Why Instagram? According to Influencer Marketing Hub, Instagram has become the most important channel for influencer marketing. In their 2021 study, 79% of brands used Instagram for their influencer campaigns, while other social media platforms such as Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube were used by 50%, 46%, and 44% respectively. Instagram is a mainstream social media network focused on visual content with a wide and diverse user base. This makes it very appealing for brands, creators, and advertisers. But what kind of influencers can you find on Instagram? With over 2,000 million monthly active users, Instagram is one of the most diverse social networks out there. And that also means what we consider an influencer has a lot of different definitions. Generally, an influencer is someone with an online presence who has a substantial amount of followers, including celebrities, athletes, and social media personalities. When you decide to work with an influencer, you can work either with them directly or through an agency if they're very well known. But with the rise of micro-influencers, content creators around niche topics with smaller but dedicated user bases have also become very in demand for brands. This has put into perspective the importance of engagement rate instead of just focusing on the raw number of followers an account has. As a platform, Instagram also offers very different kinds of content, from a single post to a short, viral video similar to TikTok called an Instagram Reel, with plenty in between, a story, a shout out in the post caption, an account takeover, and much more. This means the cost of the action will vary greatly. For example, a single Instagram post can cost more than a story, but a story and a post combined will likely be more expensive than either option. As a rough average, an influencer with 10,000 followers may charge $100 per post, while one with over 1 million followers can charge upwards of $10,000. However, the costs depend on the specifics of the influencer and what kind of campaign you want them to do. If you contact an influencer that already uses your product and has an affinity to it, they might be more open to the collaboration, and the cost could be reduced by providing them with other benefits, such as a free supply of products. Other aspects, like brand values, can also influence their decision and the cost of the campaign. If you're ready to design and develop your first influencer campaign on Instagram, take note of the following steps to make sure you have a solid strategy underneath it. First up, setting a budget. As you can now see, costs can vary significantly. That's why the first step of your influencer marketing campaign is to decide on a budget. If you don't have a high budget, consider working with micro-influencers. A micro-influencer is a user who has a smaller following, between 1,000 to 50,000 followers, but their posts tend to have high engagement rates and they exist in a more specific niche. This option is more realistic for many small and medium-sized businesses. If you have a large budget, then you can consider working with a bigger or more well-known influencer. But remember, bigger doesn't always mean better. Don't get swept up by their large following, and remember to pay attention to their engagement rate and specific niche. No matter how many followers they have, it's a waste of resources to work with an influencer whose interests don't match your industry or whose followers are not involved. Second, and arguably the most crucial step that you will want to get right, find influencers for your campaign. There are three main factors that you should consider when researching influencers: their niche or interests, for example, cars, electronics, beauty, etc., their engagement rates, and their followers' demographics. The best way to research influencers is using a professional tool such as Influencity. With it, you can filter the ones that fit your criteria, such as interest, gender, age, location, favorite brands, and more, and then compare their metrics on Instagram for the most effective impact. With a powerful tool like Influencity, you won't waste time combing through thousands of Instagram profiles and Google searches, and your return on investment will be safer and higher. It might be obvious, but we recommend taking a look at their actual content too. What types of formats do they use? Do they focus on reels or text-based posts? Do they publish one story per day or multiple ones? You should also monitor user sentiment on their comment section and other promoted posts they've done in the past with other brands to get a sense of how their followers feel about their partnerships and brand work. This may give you ideas of what works and what doesn't work for their audience. The third step would be to start the campaign planning process. Once you've found your influencer, then you must consider the type of Instagram influencer campaign you want to carry out. There are many different ways you can work with influencers, including doing single promoted posts or full-blown partnerships. Often, the influencer will have recommendations of what works best with their audience and what kind of campaigns they have the most success with. Keep in mind that asking influencers to post a specific copy is a bad practice, since you force them to use a tone and a message that doesn't necessarily align with their personal brand. Also set your success criteria using KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. That can be signups for your platform, the number of sales of a specific product, new followers on your Instagram account, and more. Having these metrics well defined will help everyone make educated decisions on the performance of the campaign and how to switch strategies if it isn't meeting your goals. You've done it. You've figured out your budget, you've done all your research, crossed all your T's, and dotted all your I's. Now you only have one step left: contact the influencer. Depending on the influencer you want to work with, you may have a few different options for reaching out. If they're a micro-influencer or they don't work with an agency, then they will often either have their email on their Instagram profile, or you can even send them a direct message on the app itself. If they work with an agency, then they have their agent's contact information on their Instagram bio or website. In this case, you'll have to work directly through their agency. If you're working with a single influencer, you might be able to contact them directly and manage the campaign that way, but it can also quickly become chaos if there are multiple campaigns running simultaneously. We recommend using some sort of automated platform to manage all of this. With Influencity, for example, you can personalize your processes and execute different campaigns seamlessly without feeling overwhelmed. Regardless of how you contact them, there are a few essential pieces of information you should ask for: their fees and metric numbers, explain your brand, the product or service you're promoting, and the goal of the campaign, include your budget, the number of posts you want to do, the type of content or ideas you have, plus any additional questions you may have. Try to customize your email for each influencer you contact and keep your messages professional and friendly. That goes a long way.
What are influencer marketing tools and how can they help you promote your brand? Influencer marketing continues to grow in popularity. with increasing numbers of brands relying on influencer collaborations to promote their marketing campaigns. This is partly because studies have shown that 92% of consumers trust recommendations from people they know, and 70% trust the experiences of their peers. In fact, the right influencer can bring in up to 200% more profit to your campaigns. One way to guarantee that you are getting the most from your campaigns is to make sure you are using the right influencer marketing tools. This includes basic tools like search engines and influencer databases, but it also means using more advanced influencer marketing tools such as audit, tracking, and reporting tools. The right tools can help you find relevant influencers, form partnerships, and implement successful campaigns. Join us as we explore these tools in a bit more detail and discuss how an all-in-one platform like Influencity can streamline the process and make your life so much easier. Search engine. A search engine is perhaps the most basic of all the influencer marketing tools we are going to discuss today. This tool can help you on your first step into the world of influencer marketing, finding the right influencers for your product or brand. An influencer search engine is a tool that helps you find influencers on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Most influencer search engines include features such as username search and detailed influencer profiles to make your search simple. You can also filter influencers by niche, by location, or, in case of the most advanced platforms, also by audience demographics, interests, language, ethnicity, keywords, hashtags, the percentage of fake followers, and brand affinity. Once you've found what you're looking for, you can view details about the influencer on their profile page to make sure they're the good fit for your brand. IRM, Influencer Relationship Management. A way to centralize all the information about your influencers, past campaigns, collaborations, emails sent, influencer rates, and more. Just as a sales team wouldn't work without a CRM, influencer marketing professionals rely on an IRM as it facilitates communication and management for your team, makes collaboration easier and more centralized, and avoids relying on a bunch of static spreadsheets. Having a tool to keep all information in one place and up to date is a really valuable asset. Audit tool. A good audit tool is another valuable weapon in your arsenal. This tool helps you reanalyze an influencer's audience as well as the content they post. You can also use the tool to analyze whether an influencer's audience is genuine or if it has been bolstered by fake followers. Once you've started collaborating with an influencer, you can use your audit tool to evaluate how well they are performing. That way, you can identify any adjustments that you need to make to your campaigns or your choice of influencer. Tracking tool. A tracking tool works in much the same way as an audit. Ultimately, it's about finding how well an influencer is performing and whether or not they are effectively promoting your brand. In fact, of all the influencer marketing tools, this is arguably one of the most valuable. There are a few ways to do this. You can use the influencer tracking tool to monitor the content your influencer is posting and see how it is performing in terms of reach, engagement, traffic, sales, or any other KPI. You can, of course, do all this manually. However, a tracking tool streamlines the process and saves you a heap of time. Reporting tool. Once you've conducted your audits and tracked the success of your campaigns, you need a tool for gathering your data in the right format so you can measure and quantify your results. That's where an influencer reporting tool comes in. An influencer reporting tool provides you with real-time analytics relating to your published campaign content. Reports often evaluate metrics including click-through rate, or CTR, engagement, and shares so that you can instantly measure the success of each influencer campaign. Advanced tools also let you compare performance at the post, influencer, social media, and campaign level, so you can better pinpoint exactly what is working and what needs improvement for future campaigns. All-in-one platform. All these influencer marketing tools are highly valuable, so you need to make sure you are using them all. However, if you are using different platforms for each tool, then things can get a bit time-consuming and chaotic. An alternative, instead of conducting each process manually, is using an all-in-one platform for everything. That way, all your data is centralized and you get a clear picture of how your influencer campaigns are performing. Many influencer marketing platforms also include other services relating to relationship management, third-party analytics, and content amplification. For example, Influencity is an influencer marketing automation tool that helps brands and agencies manage their end-to-end influencer campaigns. You get a full spectrum of tools and features that help you find the right influencers, analyze their profiles, and track all the statistics and metrics you need to evaluate the performance of your collaborating influencers. And with all these influencer marketing tools at your fingertips, you can be sure you're getting the maximum punch from all your campaigns.
And that's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this guide, consider subscribing to our channel to not miss out on any of our future videos on influencer marketing. See you next time.